Woot woot is the sound of the police. Woot woot is the sound of the beast. Woot woot is the sound of the police. Woot woot is the sound of the beast. Oh, my thing messed up. Hang on. Let's zoom this in real quick. As much as I'm sure you would all love to see my entire room, it's a lot more fun if you see me well. There we go, that's better. Let's frame it just a little bit to the right, so you can see the freedom sign. Yep, here we go. That's what we're talking about. That's how you do it. How's everybody doing today? Everybody having a good day? I personally am having a fantastically wonderful day, because I'm here doing what I love, writing and live streaming while I write. So let's get to work, shall we? We're still working on the Declassified Maximum Security Survival Guide, which, for those of you who don't know, is a memoir of time in jail and what that looks like and what that is like and what it can or does look like for some people. So, especially in county, where you don't have all the fun amenities of what prison might be. So, the big time and place to ask the COs for anything was at the door to the pod during our timeout, while the deputies did their hourly walkthrough. When the deputies did their hourly walkthrough. That sounds better. Juanita, a grumpy and lumpy woman in her early 50s, was at the pod door today. Most female COs seem to be in a constant state of irritated anger, like they're on their period and can't wait to take their aggression out on somebody. Because of Juanita's constant PMSing, we took to calling her Mad Cow. I threw my old towel through the door, like we're instructed to do, before asking, "Can I get a new towel?" in my normal chipper voice. Juanita looked at me with disdain in spades as she said, "Please?" My smile disappeared. My lips were a straight, unmoving line as I stared her down. 5 Mississippis passed as we faced each other before she finally threw a towel at my face. You know, please goes a long way. I wanted to scream, yell, and curse, but I simply turned and walked away without a word. And that took a lot. Let me tell you, it took a lot of perseverance to just be, I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be okay. Take a breather. Don't do anything stupid that's going to get you assault charges. How some of the COs talked down to inmates was infuriating. Inmates are adults and should be treated as such. At this point, I had been incarcerated for nearly 5 months. I was in a position where I had to ask for soap, towels, garbage bags, and toothpaste. That means I was asking a deputy to give me at least one of these basic essentials multiple times a day, every day of my life. Inmates shouldn't be made to beg every time they need an essential item. Every time they need an essential item. I want to make that one word, because that looks good. Beg every time they need an essential item. Yay, editing. Good job. Much stronger sentence. Go us. They should be able to get what they need and go about their day. After being talked down to and made to feel inferior for such a long period of time, I can understand why some inmates turn violent. The amount of pent-up anger and aggression in a single pod is staggering. Not long after Juanita's pleas, which happened several times with our COs as well, I was standing at my door looking at the TV when a deputy walked past. He stopped and said, "So I hear you have a hunchback." Not what I expected. What? Yeah, a big growth on your back. I think he was hoping I'd show him. Wait, so you guys know what's going on with us medically? He gave a shrug. Sometimes. Isn't that against HIPAA? HIPAA is the Health Information Protection and Privacy Act. He started a moment before saying no and walking away. Now, the CO wasn't the one I gave my medical kite to, nor was he at the doctor's office. So, someone told him about my medical condition. Apparently, doctor patient confidentiality didn't exist in jail. In my opinion, the deputies shouldn't be looking at any inmate's private medical information. They should simply turn the kite into the medical professional. Shouldn't be looking at any inmate's private medical information. I say information twice there. I don't like that. Because I just used the word information. Now, the CO wasn't the one I gave my medical kite to, nor was he at the doctor's. I say information a lot. There's got to be another good word for that, right? Let's look up synonyms. It's an important thing to do. Synonym for information. Details. Medical details. There we go. Medical details. Excuse me. Excusez-moi, mon ami. Just humanity. Oui, oui, mon ami. Right with an author. Do 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 do. Whoa. Alright, we're golden. Go us. Okay, details definitely better than information. They should simply turn the kite into the medical professional. I talked with Leprechaun and we decided to put a kite in to address possible HIPAA violations. The response back told us that if we didn't want CEOs to read our medical kites, then we should tell the CEO not to read it when we hand it. Then we should tell the CEO not to read it when we hand it to them. The response back told us that if we didn't want CEOs to read our medical kites, then we should tell the CEO not to read it when we hand it to them. Okay. That was a much stronger sentence. Good job. Good editing, everyone. Staring at myself in the mirror, I began questioning my appearance. 5 months without any sun made my skin pasty white. I had bags under my eyes. I started questioning if I was oversleeping, because I definitely didn't lack sleep. 5 months of growth and no beard oil available left my face looking quite caveman-like. I decided I'd have to shave before trial. As trial was approaching after being incarcerated for 5 months, I set to cleaning up the scruff. Since we only received a single-blade disposable razor twice a week, I thought it best to shave my wild beard in stages. I set about having fun with it, shaving the center of each cheek with thick mud chops. With thick mud chops going all the way to my chin, I was the talk of the town. I was the topic of conversation. I was the center of conversation. And the only reason I'm switching that is because the talk about town, or the talk of the town, while it sounds great, is definitely overused by other people. So we'll go with that for now. Next, I had the Hulk Hogan beard, which left me calling everybody brother. After that, I had an insanely long soul patch with a decent mustache. By this point, everyone in the pod was waiting to see what my facial hair might look like next. Finally, feeling a little mischievous and wanting to have some fun, I took everything off. Everything except for a little 3-inch patch under my nose. I figured for once in my life I had no one to impress, and I'd get some shocked looks and laughs. People gave me a lot of laughs, and whoa or no way. Often the conversation went, "A Hitler stash? Are you crazy?" And I'd respond, "I'm just a really big Charlie Chaplin fan." Needless to say, I was a big deal and loved the attention. Passing a heroin addict in his room laying in his own excrement, I saw McGruff at the same time he saw my little mustache. What the fuck is on your face? A mustache. I thought it was obvious. You shave that shit off your fucking face. I wisely walked back to my house in silence. Who was he to yell and curse at me like that? And who is he to tell me I can't have my facial hair any way I want? They already tell me what to wear and how. Who was he to yell and curse at me like that? And who was he to tell me I can't have my facial hair? I couldn't have my facial hair any way I wanted. They already told me what to wear and how to wear it. But I'd be damned if I let them control any more of my appearance. Control my facial hair. But I'd be damned if I let them control my facial hair. My whiskers. I'd be damned if I let them control my whiskers. It was Friday. I'd planned to shave it off Monday, but as an act of defiance, It was Friday. I'd planned to shave it off Monday, but as an act of defiance, I kept it for 2 more weeks. Several CEOs made comments, but none as aggressive and rude as McGruff. Every time the pod door opened, I'd run to my window to see if it was McGruff, so I could stare at him, and he could stare at my mustache. Jackson and his cellie played a lot of rummy in their house. Neither was much of a reader, and they could play rummy for hours to pass the time. They often played to 10,000, which, if you know rummy, is an insanely high score, ensuring a long game. Stone was one of my favorite COs. You could tell he was the class clown, but along with joking around, he was always ready to listen and be helpful. When Stone did his walkthrough, no, close that, close it. I don't want the elements open. I have a terrible, terrible habit of pressing the wrong button on the keyboard. But I'm getting better. When Stone did his walkthrough, he'd always stop at Jackson's house and ask who was winning rummy. He'd often exclaim things like, "You're letting him win, huh?" Or, "Why you getting beat so bad, man? Why you getting beat so bad, bro? Why you getting beat so bad, bro? Why you getting beat so bad, bro?" He was how we wished every CO was. One day, Jackson and his cellie started arguing. They argued a lot. One day, Jackson and his cellie started arguing with Stone about who was actually winning. Stone ended the competition by saying, "You know who I think is really winning? Me. Because I get to go home to my wife." I don't think he had any idea how much his joke hurt, especially Jackson's cellie. He had a wife, kids, and he didn't need a reminder that he wasn't going to be able to spend time with them. Hang on. He had a wife, kids, and he didn't need a reminder that he wasn't able to spend time with them for who knows how long. Even the best COs can forget their place and take a joke too far. In addition to having a lot of power over the inmates, COs get to enjoy freedoms that incarcerated people don't need to be reminded of. Nothing incites a flooding of cells like a deputy walking into a pod eating an ice cream cone. That happened twice, and yes, a cell was quickly flooded. It was the beginning of a new month, which meant I could expect cell searches soon. It was the beginning of a new month, which meant we could expect cell searches soon. Deputies shook down cells in their groups. Deputies shook down cells in groups, unless they had reason to suspect drugs in a specific house. When they searched, they typically had a garbage bag in their hand, ready to throw away contraband or anything that made us happy. Leprechaun's group was just searched. Leprechaun's group had just been searched. Leprechaun's group had just been searched, so I gave him things I wanted to make sure weren't taken. They were mostly kosher oatmeal packs and plastic cheese. I then set to hiding my other contraband. In jail, you're only allowed to have 3 of things: 3 t-shirts, 3 socks, and 3 books. Asking why this is got me an "I just work here" response. 3 books sounds like plenty until your family and friends start sending you books, and you have that fantasy or crime series that you still need to read the last 2 books of. You'd give some of your books to another detainee to hold on to. But you did that with Charlie, and he got taken to the hole and lost your book. Now, you'll never learn if Pippi and Pony ever avenged the death of their half-brother's lover. To avoid this heartache, I hid my books. The place COs never found them was under the bunk, behind the bottom cubby. The place COs never found them was under the bunk, behind the bottom cubby. Blah. Cubby. I think I'm reading a lot better this time around, and I think it's because I did tongue exercises in preparation for this live stream. How to be good at live streaming. Drink lots of water, keep your whistle wet, and do the tongue twisters. Me, my, oh me, oh my. Do you guys have good tongue twisters? Peter jumped over the candlestick. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jumped over the candlestick. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jumped over the candlestick. The candlestick. The candlestick. Yes, my mouth is nice and lumbered up. We are prepared to continue on. The place COs never found them was under the bunk, behind the bottom cubby. The downside was the books were hard to get to. I had to use a broom. When it came to keeping my chip bags safe, the best hiding spots were between the bunk's pole and the wall, under the desk cubby to the left corner, behind the toilet paper roll, or inside a sock. I really didn't want to lose my shower head, so I kept it in my pocket. Condiments I hid in a chip bag. I asked why we couldn't keep condiments if the point of food being contraband was so it didn't go bad. The response I got back was, "That's the rules. If I had any day of food on the day of the search." Yeah, that's better. Good job, Google. I'm patting the monitor. You guys can't see. There's the monitor. I'm patting it. Good job, Google. You did some editing work for me. That's the rules. If I had any food on the day of the search that I wasn't able to give to Leprechaun, I'd hide it on the bottom of my garbage bag. I'd hide it at the bottom of my garbage bag. Some deputies understand that what they're looking for are weapons and drugs. Some deputies understand that what they're looking for are weapons and drugs, so they'll ignore the little stuff. On the other hand, there are COs who will even throw away juice packets and organizational cookie trays. There's no telling who's going to search the cell. Some of them will even throw away your origami animals. As I finished hiding my last origami swan, the group on their time out was locked down for maintenance. The upstairs shower had gone cold, forcing everyone to the downstairs shower. 8 people sharing one shower when you only have 3 hours was incredibly frustrating. More than once, someone didn't get a chance to wash. Plus, the added traffic to one shower made it quite gross. While we were excited to get the shower back, the maintenance work was eating into a lot of groups' free time. Is turning that into one word really okay? Free time? Free time? I don't know if that's a word. I don't feel like it is. Why on earth is it doing that? Hang on. Let's look this up. Is free time a word? Word free time is a relaxed word game when you spell related words according to a clue in the crossword. Can I... But it's not telling me that the word is wrong when I just spell free time. Free time. Looking for Amazon free time? No, I'm not looking for Amazon free time. Free time. Definition. Leisure. Hang on, why is it saying that this is okay? I don't feel like it is. Let's try it in here. Huh. I don't know. I don't like it. I'm going to make it into 2 words. I don't think it's real. If I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Leaving some with only half to a third of their time out. The shower being right between my and Jackson's houses made some of the work super noisy. We could also hear them talk. We could hear them talk. We could hear them talk. We heard every word they said. Every word they said. We heard every word they said. Can't believe we have to repaint the floor. It's like, why? Second handyman. What we should be doing is painting a bullseye on the ground. No, what we ought to do is castrate all these rapists and murderers. In the court of corrections staff. In the court of corrections staff, innocent until proven guilty didn't exist. As the 2 coverall men started to leave, Jackson gave a shout. Jackson shouted, "Real professional, guys." The 2 men looked at each other and mumbled back and forth in a mocking tone. Oh, real professional, super professional, we're professional, crazy professional. As they walked out of the pod. Yep, incredibly professional. Doing my best to ignore Dumb and Dumber, I turned to my playing cards. I decided to open up the worthless deck Mr. Hell's Angel had left me. In his psychotic state of schizophrenia, he'd bent every single card in half both ways. Both directions. Both directions the cards were bent. Huh. Doing my best to ignore Dumb and Dumber both ways. Knowing that I was due to be searched, I decided to have a little fun. I took all 4 queens out of the deck. I got up on my bunk and slid the Queen of Hearts in between the metal slits in the roof so she was looking down on me while I slept. I found this oddly comforting over the next few nights. Standing on the toilet, desk, and sink, I stretched as far as possible, Standing on the toilet, desk, and sink, I stretched as far as possible, placing the remaining queens in the metal slits by the door, light, and in the exact center of the cell. They didn't want me to hang things in my cell. Okay. Well, I hoped the COs... They didn't want me to hang things in my cell. Okay. Well, hopefully the CO who tried to take the cards down was 5'0". Setting up things for the deputies to find was kind of fun. I started brainstorming other things to hide. By clicking 2 soap bars together, I got a pile of soap crystals. I cut them up, made a couple lines, and put some rolled up paper next to them. I'm sure the guy who snorted soap would be a conversation starter among the COs. I'm sure the guy who snorted soap would be a conversation starter among the COs. Next, I took hot water and peeled the outer layer of juice packet away, leaving the funny-looking plastic baggie with white powder in it. This I hid under my pillow. This I hid under my pillow. Next, I filled 2 empty shampoo bottles with grape juice and taped them together. I thought maybe I'd keep them guessing as to why. I had no idea how I'd explain the why behind grape juice bottles. Behind taped grape juice bottles. Sitting at the desk, feeling proud of myself, I thought about ways to outdo what I'd done. To that end, I began to write. I started with big, bold letters at the top of the page, impossible to miss, and continued to write until I had a full letter. Deputy McGruff, I can't hide my feelings for you a second longer. I can't hide my feelings for you a second longer, McGruff. You are my soulmate. Every time... Why do I keep doing that? Every time you flex your athletically chiseled arms, my loins burn to enter your supple, round rear. Your supple, round rear. Let's take the comma out there. As I stare at you now, licking your moist, whisker-covered lips, I dream of what they would feel like pressed against my waiting neck. I know you feel the same. How could you not? Every time. Why do I keep doing that? Just why? Why? Why, Author Altman? Why? How could you not? Every time our eyes meet, you can't help but feel the electric attraction resonating from a passion and desire that burns with the heat of 1,000,000,000,000 gas giants. Our love runs so deep, it's truly overflowing. Our love runs so deep, it's truly overflowing. Feeling it as deep as you do, I'm sure you'll understand why I couldn't keep it to myself any longer. The other inmates are excited for us, and I can't wait to see where this relationship takes us, where this relationship goes. And can't wait to see how this relationship progresses. I know it's scary, but I'm sure as we begin sharing our love with the other deputies, you'll see how happy they are for us. Of course, telling your wife is going to be hard. Don't worry. I'll make it easy on you and tell her myself once my friends find her on social media. I'm sure a quick message will help make for an understanding and smooth transition. Don't fret. Don't fret. I'm great with kids, and I'm happy to facilitate their growth and development while you're at work. I know this is hard, just like our cocks when we're together, but in the end, it'll be worth it. You don't choose love. Love chooses you, and I'm so thankful it's chosen us. McGruff, I will be all you need. Following my heart, Trevor Altman, aka Big 400. I put the love note under my mattress where they'd be sure to see it clear as a million billion gas giants. When the search finally came 3 days later, I was honestly disappointed McGruff wasn't the one conducting the shakedown. Shakedown? Shakedown all one word? Yeah, shakedown all one word. Let's make the shakedown. As I re-entered my house, I found the Queen of Hearts crumpled up in the toilet. The other 3 cards were left alone. I assumed because the CO couldn't get to them. Couldn't reach them. There we go. Couldn't reach them. That's a much better sentence. Go us. Strong sentences. Either that or they didn't look at my ceiling. The soap lines had been wiped off the desk. The paper, baggie, and love note were all gone. I assumed the love note would make its way to McGruff. That thought gave me a smile. I'm pleased to announce no real contraband I cared about was taken in the search. The next time McGruff came into the pod, as much as I tried, he refused to look my way. It's like he was trying his hardest to refute our... I said love already, so let's change that to burning passion. His hardest to refute our burning passion. After a few conversations, I started to think Gaucho might be a crazy old black man. And then I talked about my case, because I thought he was my investigator. But really, he was that damn detective. Hang on. Yep, there we go. And then I talked about my case, because I thought he was my investigator. But really, it was that damn detective come to try and make me incriminate myself again. Why is it saying... Who came? No. We're going to leave it come. Thank you very much, editing software. What? I drug out the word for added emphasis. Getting Gaucho rambling about all the apparent conspiracy surrounding his case was quickly becoming a favorite pastime. Yep, let's turn that into one word. Good job editing software. Thank goodness for technology. Yep, because I didn't recognize it was him on the account he was wearing a beard. Yes, a fake beard with a handlebar mustache. But don't you worry. No, sir, 'cause I got them by the balls. I'm gonna represent myself in court. They don't want me to, but I'm gonna, and they can't stop me. No, sir. Then, after I win, I'm gonna sue them. Sue them? Nope, sue them. Let's add a nice little yeehaw right there. Sue them. I'm gonna sue the county. I'm gonna sue the sheriff's office. I'm gonna sue this jail. I'm gonna make a fortune, and that's the best revenge. There's nothing they hate more than a black man with money, let me tell you. And boy, did I let him tell me. While suppressing my chuckles, I decided nothing would make me happier than to watch Gaucho represent himself. Oh, the poor judge who has to try... Had. Change that to had. Oh, the poor judge who had to try and control Gaucho during one of his southern rounds, where he tells dem youngsters how it is. If I could watch the trial, I would be so happy. Rumor wreck filled the echoing pod, sending my fellow inmates and I out to the yard while the COs grabbed someone to chain up. They'd come for Gaucho. We watched as they set to shackling him for transport. They cuffed one hand to his midsection. Make that one word. Then went to cuff the other as Gaucho interrupted. That's my hurt arm, sir. Okay, replied the deputy. Well, I need to cuff you. No, you don't. They ain't been cuffing me, and I got doctor's notes and paperwork and everything. I'll add that Gaucho had been hospitalized several times for his arm and shoulder. Deputies had never cuffed his hurt hand before. He couldn't do anything with it anyways. The CO tugged his arm, and Gaucho let out a yelp of pain. The deputy next to the rec door said, I hate that fucking enter. in a hushed but still audible tone. Gaucho refused to go if they had to cuff him, so the judge issued a drag order. 8 deputies came and dragged him in front of the judge with a smile. In front? Not in front. In front. In front of the judge with a smile. He went begrudgingly, but without a fight. Let's put a comma there. He went begrudgingly, but without a fight. The CO who used the slur would get caught saying a few off-color remarks, making me believe his racism was genuine. I'll add that in my experience, most of the COs are good enough guys and at least not outwardly racist. Tap, tap, tap. Mr. Altman, I hate waking up to keys tapping on my door. Metal on metal is so loud. Tap, tap, tap. Mr. Altman. Fine, I'm up. I stumbled out of bed, wild hair flowing out of my Jufro. Can I turn that into one word? I can. Jufro. Yes. 2 COs. I bet some of you didn't know I was Jewish, huh? Yep. Jewish writer. Here we go. 2 COs were at my door with paperwork. Mr. Altman, we're here to give you paperwork so you can prepare for your disciplinary hearing. Well, that's one way to shake me out of a sleepy grog. Disciplinary hearing? Yes. For what? Graphic video visit. I stood in shock, not sure what to say. I'm sure surprise was all over my face. Don't worry, you aren't going to the hole or anything. Just a 30-day suspension of your video privileges. Wait, I can't go a month without seeing my family. I took the paperwork as they closed the door slot and left. Well, that was the last thing I expected in the morning, waking up to a major infraction. I took a look at the papers. The inmate encouraged a female visitor to expose herself. Yes, I did. And what a female she was, too. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed beauty, with an ass for days. How could I not ask her to take off all her clothes and slowly crawl towards me? I hadn't enjoyed a woman's body in over 150 days. The sight of the female form was an image to covet and treasure. How could that be wrong? I don't remember seeing any rules about this in the inmate manual, so I set to prepare for my hearing by reading through all the infractions on the tablet. A disciplinary hearing sounds like a big ordeal, but it's really just 2 COs asking you what happened, or more accurately, why you did it. They also ask you the questions right in the middle of the pod where all the other inmates can hear. Given the nature of my infraction, I didn't appreciate that. I explained to the deputies, I guess my infraction wasn't worth a sergeant's time, that the manual didn't say that what I did was an infraction. Yes, it does, replied the deputy. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. Okay, I replied. Can I show you the manual? Sure. I brought up the manual and showed that the only example of video visit misuse... Again, why am I doing that? Misuse. Misuse? M-I-S-U-S-E. Yep, that's how I'm going to spell it. Were things like sharing your PIN and allowing others to make visits for you. This isn't the updated manual, was the response I got. Well, it's the only one we inmates have. Well, you still did it. I didn't know it was a major infraction. Well, you should have been aware of it. How could I have been? It's not in the manual. It's still video misuse. Switch it to misuse again. I don't think enjoying the image of my significant other's body is a misuse of video visits. And I don't think I should get in trouble for something that isn't even in the manual. The deputy gave a sigh. Will you sign the form saying you understand the infraction? No, I don't think I should get no visits with my family for 30 days for something not listed as an infraction. 30 days is standard. This isn't a standard situation. The 30 seems excessive. 7 or 10 is more than sufficient. 30 days is standard. We stared at each other for a moment. Clearly, nothing I had to say mattered. Are you going to sign this? He asked. You don't have to. Oh, so now it doesn't even matter what I do. If it's the same outcome regardless of if I sign it, then I won't. I figured then I wasn't really admitting to anything. Let's change that to, if it's the same outcome regardless of if I sign it, then I won't. I wasn't signing it out of spite more than anything. Jail is a true bureaucracy. Jail is a true bureaucracy, but it never favors the inmate, even when the inmate discovers that the I hasn't been dotted and the T stands uncrossed. "30 days without seeing my family, friends, or my daughter was extremely difficult and depressing. I'd have rather gone to the hole for 3 to 10 days, as you do for most infractions. I would have given up all my other inmate rights for a chance to see my child. My cellie was being taken to the hole, giving me the house to myself again. As the CO gathered up the last of my former cellie's things and left, I hopped on my bunk, I closed my eyes with a smile, and threw my hand down my pants. When you're stuck with a cellie, your lovemaking is pretty much confined to the shower. I don't know how science says it's possible, but water makes a man's lovemaking dry and uncomfortable, with too much friction. When you've only masturbated in the shower for a month and a half, you take advantage of your alone time. Not knowing when I might get a new cellie, I leapt into the throes of self-pleasure. When you only have sexual imagination to work with, you'd be surprised the things your mind throws your way. While using my right hand, I sat on my left so I went numb. Once numb, I could switch to it and pretend it was someone else's hand. In my mind, I was flying on a private jet. Champagne was being served by nude stewardesses who were at my command. I was the director, having all manner of lesbian scenes acted out for me. As two of the girls' tongues danced around each other, I stood up and After being incarcerated for so long, my bodily joy didn't last longer than a minute or two. Feeling satisfied, weak, and deflated, I took off my left sock and mopped up. Laying on the bunk, preparing myself for round 2, I heard the pod door open. I could hear the COs coming up the stairs before making it to my cell. "Rec yard, gentlemen." What? We weren't supposed to be searched now. We're always searched before, after, or in the middle of our timeout. Walking to the rec yard with my other inmates. Walking to the rec yard with other inmates. Walking to the rec yard with the other inmates in our group. I prayed to God no one noticed my hard-on. Standing in the rec yard, again, why do I keep doing this? I did my best to face the wall. Why do you only have one sock on?" asked Gramps. I looked down at my one bare foot. "Just wasn't ready for a search," I replied sheepishly. He let it go at that, and I did my best to ignore the others' looks. As my junk cooled down, I started thinking about what else they may find in my room. Does a jizz sock somehow count as contraband? I was pretty sure there was something in the manual against storing bodily fluids. As I returned to my cell, I found the CO who searched my house oddly quiet. There, in the middle of my cell, was a still very fresh, love-covered sock. It had been relocated from my bunk to the floor. The rest of my house seemed untouched, like the deputy stopped the search after his first find. This was so good, I couldn't help but share what happened with the group. Later, Jackson said to one of the COs, "So I heard you found a surprise in 26 house." The deputy's face went red as he quickly said, "Oh, that wasn't me," and left. I swear, some of the COs never talked to me the same way after that. Our interactions became far more abrupt. I didn't complain. The deputy's face went red as he quickly said, "Oh, that wasn't me," and left. I swear, some of the COs never talked to me the same way again. Our interactions became far more abrupt. I didn't complain. I didn't mind. Our interactions became far more abrupt. I considered this a happy accident. I considered this a happy accident. Yay, that's a good way to end a chapter. Good job, team. Alright, guys. I am going to, now that chapter 5 is done, I think I'm going to call this the final edit until I send it off to the editor. So I'm going to send this off to an editor, take a quick break, refill my water, and then we'll get going on chapter 6. So stick around and let's enjoy. Be right back. Welcome, everybody. Whew, apparently I should have done a few vocal warm-ups before I started talking after a break. Hang on. Okay, we're good now. Much better. Much better, everyone. Alright, Chapter 6, Bad Sully. Let's get this sucker done and sent off, shall we? A crazy, stupid, mean, or fat Sully can make your time incarcerated a nightmare. Fat Sullys are on the list because they stink up the cell, and are often slobs. I can't stand living with a messy or dirty human being. When you're cellmates with someone in Max, there's no escaping them for 21 hours a day. On the flip side, a good Sully allows for good conversation, playing games, and helps time go by faster. Another person can also give you a feeling of camaraderie and let you know that you're not alone. Excuse me, hang on. Let's just do a nice little vocal warm-up. Hi, my name is Author Altman, and I'm here to have a vocal warm-up for you. Woohoo! Okay, let's get going, shall we? Dr. Nielsen was an amazing cellmate. He was intellectually stimulating. Conversation flowed, and we could talk for hours about everything. About everything. Anything? Everything. Talk for hours about everything. Our home life, work, religion, politics, it was all fair game. We challenged each other at chess, even though I typically won, and taught each other card games. He was also a great detainee because he bought commissary. He was also a great cellmate. There we go. He was also a great cellmate because he bought commissary. Because he bought commissary, comma. Because he bought commissary. And was kind enough to split a bag of chips or the last section of a Kit Kat bar. I was grateful for any reprieve from the unsweetened food we consumed every day. But, like all good things, wonderful cellmates don't last. Okay, let's change. I say cellmates 3 times, so let's change cellmate to Sully. Cellmates don't last. Nielsen was bailed out after 3 weeks of trying to find the tens of thousands of dollars for the bail bondsman. We fist bumped as he left. I wanted a hug. A week passed before I was given a new cellmate. Again, let's change cellmate to Sully, since we said cellmate right there. My first thought when I saw Buster was how badly the man needed a shower. He reeked of BO. Hi, my name's Trevor, I said, extending my hand. He gave me a limp shake. I'm Buster. I have severe autism and Asperger's. I can read at a 3rd grade level. I have severe autism and Asperger's. I can read at a 3rd grade level. What the fuck was he doing in my house? As if I'd asked him to tell me his life story, he told me his life story. Much of it revolved around his cat. I was adopted by my mom's. People make fun of me for that. That's why I have brass knuckles to threaten them with. I like weapons. I had a few jobs, but I got fired because I forgot to go. Ha ha. But I get disability, so it's okay. I have a girlfriend I like a lot. We live together in my basement. I hope she remembers to take care of my cat. I love my cat more than anything. He enjoyed talking about himself. So did I, but I discussed myself in a more conversational manner. He continued on, I have letters from her, my girlfriend, not my cat. She thinks I deserve to be in here because sometimes I get angry and like brass knuckles. A dangerous combination. Want to see? Everything he said was loud. I tried my best to reply, You know, Buster, I'm not... Whoosh. The letters were in my lap. Soon I understood that his girlfriend was also differently abled, and that she was jealous of all the attention Buster gave his feline companion. I began to wonder how violent these things got between The two oddly abled. Is that rude? Probably. I don't care. I still like it. Oddly abled, and wished I could observe them in their natural habitat. It took a while to shut him up. I tried playing a few games with him. Most card games were too complicated, and I didn't want to play Go Fish. Go Fish. Chess was out of the question, and he couldn't play checkers because we didn't have real checkers pieces. Having real pieces was extremely important to him. We ended up sitting on our bunks reading, at least I read. We ended up sitting on our bunks reading. Well, I read. Trevor? Yes, Buster? What does sympathy mean? The dictionary is on the desk. Well, I don't really like using the dictionary because it takes so long. Okay, that's stupid. I wish his voice wasn't so monotone. Trevor? What? Can you tell me what it means? Hang on, what's our word count at for this chapter? Word count, 8,376. Woohoo, go us. Can you tell me what it means? No, my irritation was rising. Why can't you? Because I don't want to, Buster. I'm reading my book. You have a dictionary you can use. But I don't like using the dictionary because it takes so long. Tough. His voice inflection never changed. After about 30 seconds of silence, he asked, Can't you tell me what it means? Buster, I'm reading. And you're not good at multitasking? My head flooded with possible answers. I decided to go with the one that had the best chance of ending the conversation. No. Oh. I sat back enjoying the silence. Was that it? It was over? I enjoyed my book in silence with a smile on my face. Bam! I bolted up and looked at the door. Buster had thrown his book against it. I yelled, What the hell? He looked up at me with his bunk in a calm and innocent manner. Like he had no idea why I was shouting. Why'd you throw that? There are too many big words in it. That doesn't mean you have to throw it. I didn't hurt anybody. Clearly, arguing with Buster was a waste of time. I did my best to read. Buster got his letter out and read through those. Trevor? What? Do you think my mom still loves me? How would I know that? I asked what you thought, not what you knew. Oh, yeah, technically. I don't know. Probably. That's good. Another 3 minutes of silent reading before... Trevor? What? My tone was filled with irritation and a hint of anger. Do you think the prosecutor will give me a good deal? From what you've told me, probably not. Oh, that's too bad. 2 minutes later. Trevor? What? Do you think they threw away my weapons? Probably. Oh. 4 minutes later. Trevor? What? Do you think my girlfriend is taking good care of my cat? You said she doesn't like your cat, so she probably drowned your cat in the bathtub. 5 seconds of silence passed before I added, Your cat's dead. Another 10 seconds passed before Buster replied, Boy, I hope not. That'd make me really sad. Do you ever get sad, Trevor? You know what, Buster? I really just want to read in silence, okay? Oh, his favorite word. I read in wondrous quiet for a solid 10 minutes. A dull, quick thump, thump, thump broke the silence with a steady rhythm. I froze in the wake of the thump, thump, thumping. He's not masturbating. I took a breath and slowly peered over the edge of the bunk. There it was, Buster's right fist thumping 100 miles an hour. He stopped, looked at me, and smiled with a monotone hi. Without a word, I went back to reading. Between his thumping and body odor, our time out couldn't come fast enough. Thankfully, he had enough sense not to keep thumping. Make sure you take a shower. Buster nodded dumbly. I will. As the cell door opened, Buster headed to the shower I told him to use, the upstairs shower, while Jackson came over. You better not fight with your celly. You better not fight with your celly. You can tell he's got that retard strength. I rolled my eyes, emphasis on retard. Well, at least your celly isn't a crybaby. At least your celly isn't a crybaby. It's like, face the wall on your bunk and silently whimper like a man. Agreed. Have you gone over the suicide options with him? He's too much of a pussy. Don't worry, someday we'll find someone willing to take the plunge. The plunge was a 4-foot nosedive off the top bunk onto the hard cement slab we called the ground. After much discussion, we were pretty sure that was the most foolproof suicide method available to an inmate. Jackson gave a sigh. I'm just tired of all his complaining. I might be looking to get rid of my celly. There are several ways to get rid of a celly. Getting in a scuffle with them is one. As long as there aren't marks or proof of the altercation, then the one complaining gets moved. Another option is to explain the situation to mental health, asking them to please put in a request for a cell change. However, this can be slow and isn't guaranteed to work. A faster option is to get your celly to refuse housing or protective custody out, which will get them sent out to the hole. Get them sent right to the hole. Accusing a celly of wrongdoing, sexual misconduct, or stealing are fan favorites to get someone kicked out of a house and off to the hole. The problem with all these options is you never know what your new celly is going to be like. Sometimes it's better to accept the evil you know, like a complaining crybaby, than to risk the evil you don't know. You might even end up with a fat celly. Think about that before you risk it. Buster spent the time out showering, calling his mom, and watching TV. No matter what was on, Buster felt the need to add his commentary. Oh man, those idiots. Why don't they just jump into the water? They're so dumb. Those idiots deserve to die, he said while watching Titanic. After the first day, everyone was ready for Buster to leave. As we re-entered my house, I noticed a familiar smell. Buster, I know I saw you take a shower. Yep, but you still smell. I do. He sniffed under his arm. Yes, you do. Why do you still stink, Buster? Well, he stared sheepishly. I forgot soap. So you went and got the soap you'd forgotten. He looks like a child who was caught with his hand in the cookie jar as he slowly responded, No. Come on, Buster. I'm not making a lot of changes to this chapter. I'm almost to the point of just sending it off and saying good to go. See what the editor thinks. Okay, that was it. I wasn't here to babysit. Is that one word? It is one word. I tossed him a deodorant stick and commanded him to put some on. I then went back to reading and did my best to ignore the 5-year-old living in my house. As night approached, the thumping returned. I rolled my eyes as I jumped down to people watch. To watch others in the pod. I jumped down to watch others in the pod. I jumped down to... Nah, people watch sounds better. I like people watch. I rolled my eyes as I jumped down to people watch. Whoa! The blanket between his legs was billowing as I jumped down. He stared at me with wide, unblinking eyes. Hi. Were you masturbating? No, he said slowly with a smile. Knock that shit off. Save it for the fucking shower and don't be a fag in my cell. Got that? His smile was gone now. Okay. Super sorry, Trevor. We didn't speak for the rest of the night. I didn't feel bad about shouting at him. Sometimes you had to get a little loud and curse to get your point across. So, real quick, I just want to tell y'all, I would never typically say FAG to anybody. But it's one of those things, when you're incarcerated, you use language like that like it's nothing. Everyone uses slurs. Everyone uses racial slurs. Everyone uses derogatory names. Everyone calls each other gay. It's just the way that the talk goes, and so that's why it's here, because this is authentic. This is what county is actually like. So, all right, let's keep going. I did feel like the situation wasn't fair to me. Why did I get stuck with a child? Classifications should have put him in the mental pod where people on a lot of meds, developmentally challenged, insanely loud, or obnoxious belong. Who knew how long I could deal with Buster? The answer was 3 days. Second day was much like the first, but the third day began the tapping. Tap, tap, tap. I was standing at the house window watching Deadpool when I heard a tap. I looked over at Buster sitting at the desk, staring at the wall and breathing rhythmically. I watched as his left index finger slowly brought his fingernail up and then down on the desk. It wasn't a muffled thud, but a loud singing tap, created by his hard nail making contact with the metal desk. It wasn't a muffled thud, but a loud singing tap. Comma. Yep, much better. As the tapping increased, my nerves decreased. Hey, Buster, please stop tapping. He didn't move, respond, or stop tapping. I did my best to ignore the sound and enjoy Deadpool. I succeeded for 30 seconds. Hey, man, please stop. It isn't affecting you. It is affecting me. I'm trying to watch TV. Even I can hear the TV. All this was said without looking my way. Okay, I said, trying to stay calm and be understanding of Mr. Difficulty Abled. Difficulty Abled. Well, I can't hear it over your tapping. They're saying I can't live this life without you. Buster, that isn't what they're saying. So you can hear it. Okay, disabilities be damned. Buster, stop tapping. It's a tick. I can't help it. Tap, tap, tap. Then tap on your pants leg or your bunk mattress. It's a tick. Tap, tap, tap. I moved closer to him in one quick motion, finally drawing his attention. Stop fucking tapping on that fucking desk, you fucking retard. This was yelled at the top of my lungs. With my voice booming, what was usually a loud group of 60-plus men in a confined, echoing room was turned into complete silence. Everyone was straining to hear what I might do. Buster sat wide-eyed staring at me. Can you press the intercom button? No, you press the button. He did. I need to talk to mental health. It's an emergency. Gal on the speaker said she'd let them know. I went back to watching Deadpool while Buster packed up all his things and sat quietly on the bunk, muttering to himself about going home. If he'd been suicidal, or was trying to nonchalantly escape the cell without being beat up, he'd have been out of luck. It took them close to 6 hours to allow Buster to see mental health. That was the last time I saw Buster. He went away to mental health. Then he went to the hole for refusing housing. A deputy came to get his things and asked if I'd threatened him. I told him no, and that I thought Buster's mental handicap impeded him from getting along with a cellmate. After that conversation, I enjoyed several weeks by myself. It was bliss. Leprechaun came to my door. What happened? The entire pod heard you roar. I quickly explained the situation. He was the 5th one to come ask for the details. As word spread, I was quickly getting a reputation. I was quickly gaining a reputation as a badass who threw out any celly who got on my nerves. Leprechaun gave a low whistle. Just for tapping on the desk? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds awful. Oh, it's not that bad. Bees was bad. He got rid of his celly by taking his clothes off and swinging his dick around Ferris wheel style. Whoa, did he get in trouble? Nope, just claimed his celly was lying to get him in trouble. The cellmate was moved, and B got to keep his house to himself. Clearly, there are many ways to get a new celly. However, There is no way of knowing if the next celly will be better than the last, and you may not want to give classifications deputies the idea that you're the problem. They seem to place problem inmates together, and claiming the celly was lying or acting up only flew so many times. The next few cellies were short-stay cellies, guys who got bailed out quick or were only in max for disciplinary reasons and were quickly returned to the dorms. I hated that because of my charge, I'd always be stuck in my small cell, while violent and disruptive inmates, let's make charges plural, charges. Because of my charges, I'd always be stuck in a small cell, while violent and disruptive inmates went to the dorms repeatedly, only to return a while later. Nothing about jail is fair. Nothing about jail was fair. I got used to giving short-stay cellies a basic lay of the land. Hi, my name's Trevor. Welcome to my house. These are my things. Don't touch them. Quiet time is midnight to 10 a.m. Plan your sleep accordingly. If you don't eat anything on your tray, I ask for first dibs. The calendar on the desk shows our timeout. Do your best to shit during those times so I'm not trapped while you're stinking up this confined space. Try your best to keep the cell clean. Use the garbage bag. Keep the floor clear and lean down close to the sink when spitting toothpaste so I don't get it all over our stuff or the mirror. So it doesn't get all over our stuff or the mirror. Do all these, thank you. Do all these things, don't be a dumbass, and we'll get along great. Do you play cards or chess? Maybe dominoes? Dominoes, now there's a good jail game. Anybody out there know how to play dominoes? So much fun. If anybody wants to play a game with me, I am down for some dominoes. I yelled at a few of my cellies, but we all got along for the most part. A large reason for these smooth relationships were the standards, expectations, and them not staying for an extended period of time. A large reason for these smooth relationships were the standards, expectations, and them not staying for an extended period of time. Without fail, every cellie had to be taught how to go potty. Eventually, nature calls, and timeouts be damned. And timeout be damned. You just can't hold it in. The protocol to taking a shit in the cell begins by informing your cellmate. The bomb bay doors are opening. It's time to drop a massive payload. The cellmate then lays on their bunk facing the wall, giving maximum potty privacy. A little bit of a tongue twister right there. Potty privacy. A sign announcing the deuce being taken is then hung in the window. Let's make that lowercase. Announcing the deuce being taken is then hung in the window for added privacy from those walking by. The strolling bystanders appreciate it too. Unfortunately, the cell is a small confined space, so the rule is flush as you go, and continue flushing until ready to remove posterior from the porcelain throne. No bowel movements should be heard over the sound of flushing. Unfortunately, this is easier said than done. To accomplish continuous flushing, the shitter must press a metal button directly behind the toilet user's back, requiring weight distribution focused on the right ass cheek and right arm twisting 180 degrees with torso assistance. I suggest an attempt in this restroom technique to fully appreciate the shitty position it is. The thing I had to get used to was just how cold my ass got. An all-metal toilet with freezing water swirling around in it makes for a chilling experience. Constant flushing should take care of the smell, but at times it's nice to hang an air freshener or rub deodorant on the vent. That's a pro tip right there. If you are stuck in a small confined space, like a cell, and it gets really stinky, rub some deodorant on the vent. The vent pushes the deodorant smell in, you're good to go. The shitty ritual is concluded by washing hands and yelling to the cellie, "The time of darkness has passed. Bask in the light." I watched from a safe distance as Deputy McGruff banged on B's door. "Take that sign down." I could hear the indignation in B's voice as McGruff looked straight over the sign at him, bare ass on the toilet. Hey man, I'm taking a shit. I don't care. This is jail. There's no privacy in jail. Take it down. B removed the shit warning sign. I'm not sure why having a sign up matters when the CEOs can just glance over. Well, B learned that some deputies are assholes who will stare at your junk while you're mid-defecation. This is why most inmates plan their shit and love making sessions around the CEO's walkthrough times. Right after a CEO walks through, right after a walkthrough is also the safest time to pass contraband, use drugs, or get into a fight. Oh, editing is going well. Again, I'm really close to just sending this to the editor as is and saying, I think we're good. But every once in a while I find a little word change, so we'll keep going. After you're getting a cellie, Altman, you're getting a cellie. They never warn you or give you any time to prepare for an added person in your small living space. If I'd known, I'd have gone one more pleasure session in. And again, pleasure sessions are good old. As I turned, I saw the man carrying a blanket and mattress towards my cell. His name was Max, a semi-clean-cut, sandy-haired guy. He looked all right. As we made introductions, I found he was a recreational drug user with a temper. So he was just like half the guys who came through closed custody. The other half were hardcore addicts who'd rip off someone's ear with their teeth just for a hit. There's a true story behind that sentence right there. As Max and I got to know each other, rummy was our game. Did I really spell rummy like that? Why isn't it telling me that's wrong? There. That's how you spell rummy. R-U-M-M-Y, for those who don't know. Rummy was our game. He got frustrated and quit any card games I tried to teach him. Dominoes was a stretch, and chess was too difficult. He liked poker, but I hated trying to play poker with only 2 people. It was all boring luck. But rummy, we both enjoyed a good game of rummy. We'd play all day long with games going to 10,000 points. 10,000? Yep, 10,000 points. Max turned out to be a nice guy with a good sense of humor. He kept the cell clean and respected my things. He was someone who I could actually see myself being friendly with on the outside. These first 3 days had gone great. So, who's talking shit about me? I looked up from our card game. What? Max was staring at me with a newfound intensity. I can feel someone talking shit about me. Who is it? If someone's talking shit about you, I'm not aware of it. Why do you think someone's talking shit? Because I'm not stupid. I can feel their eyes on me and I see them talking when my back is turned. Huh. Well, I haven't noticed anything. His that followed made it clear he wasn't sure I could be trusted. This was followed by 2 more great days before another question came out of left field. Who has a problem with me? You think someone has a problem with you? Yep. I waited for more of an explanation that clearly wasn't coming before finally prodding. Why? I'm not stupid. Okay. We sat in silence, cards still gripped tight. We were wondering how to proceed. If anyone had a problem with you, I'm not aware of it. Again, my answer was not to be readily believed. Have you done anything to get on anybody's bad side? I don't really see you interacting with others during our time out. No, but this is jail. Excuse me. I feel like someone's gonna beat me to send a message. Well, that was unexpected. I wouldn't worry about that, man. We have a pretty okay group of guys we're out with. Was the only response I got. 3 days later, I think Gramps wants to fuck me. What? Yeah, man. He keeps making eyes at me. I'd known Gramps for many months by now. This accusation was incredibly perplexing. I didn't know what to say. So I kept silent and drew the next rummy card. The next day, I kept an extra close eye on Gramps. As far as I could tell, the only person he seemed to care about was J-Lo on the TV. 4 days later, I was laying on my bunk reading as Max got up and asked, So do we have a problem? I looked away from my book to see Max staring at me with the intensity of a boxer waiting for the starting bell. Not that I'm aware of. Why? I can feel the tension between us. I wonder if Max's parents told him that his feelings were always valid. Clearly, they tend to be off the mark. Up until now, we hadn't even had an argument, let alone a hostile word. If we have any tension, I'm not aware of it or what it might be about. You seem distant. Distant? What are we, a married couple? I'm just really into this book. What were we, a married couple? You'd tell me if we had a problem. Of course. Okay. And with that, he went back to reading. An hour later, we were playing rummy. Max's random spurts of paranoia baffled me. I decided to share my conversations with Jackson. Didn't you say meth was his drug of choice? Yeah. Well, paranoia, like you're describing, are a side effect of meth. Is a side effect. A side effect of meth. Huh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Yep, just ignore the random paranoia. It'll typically pass quickly. And that's just what I did. When he had a moment of paranoia, I downplayed it. And we went about our day. Aside from the few spurts of paranoia, he was the perfect cellmate. Clean, drama-free, without enemies, and a relatively intelligent conversationalist. We talked mostly about politics and religion. He showed a lot of interest in my Christian faith, and I was happy to provide him with biblical readings. I'm a big fan of the book of Matthew. Being there to answer any questions Max had was actually fun for me. I had to look up more than a few answers, and it was a great way to pass the time. In Max, you're always looking for new ways to kill time until you're free again. As that time continues to stretch out into more and more months, you'll try to pass the time doing things you never thought you'd do before. Hey Trevor, want to snort some sleeping pills with me? I looked up from my book. Excuse me? Max gave a sheepish look. Medical approved me for some Seroquel, and I heard it. If you snorted it, you get high for like 20 minutes before you pass out. You're going to risk cheeking your meds? I am going to use the restroom real quick, and we are going to continue on. We're a little more than halfway through the chapter. Make sure that you check out the Patreon, and if you'd like to support this channel, Patreon is definitely the way to do it. It's also a great way for you to read my short stories that I post on Patreon. So I will be right back. Enjoy yourselves. And we are back. Whew, excuse me. And doing the vocal warm-ups. E-I-E-I-O. We are ready to go, go, go. Little Joe, take a bow. Look, I made a frosting cow. Little Joe, give it a rest. We all know Pa likes you the best. We're ready to go, guys. Let's get it on. Max gave a sheepish look. Medical approved me for Seroquel. You're gonna risk cheeking your meds? No, I'm gonna palm them. Or rather, drop them really quick from the cup into a sticky on the floor, on the door. My parents didn't raise a druggie. I was always a good, clean kid, and snorting Seroquel seemed so juvenile with a hint of desperation. It's like what middle school kids raised in broken homes who were originally adopted do as a silent cry for attention, and the possibility of feeling something other than soul-crushing loneliness. Hell yeah, I'll snort some with you. What? Yep, I did that. That night during MedPass, I did my best to read my book inconspicuously while my cellie palmed his Seroquel. I held my breath while both the fat nurse and Deputy McGruff watched Max through the small window. He took the cup slightly above the door slit where the corrections staff couldn't see. He quickly dumped the pill into the shampoo sticker we had stuck to the door, and in one fluid motion flew through the door. He quickly dumped the pill into the shampoo sticker we had stuck to the door. In one fluid motion, he brought the cup to his lips and swallowed down air with water. Ah, he let out, showing under his tongue, as was the custom after taking meds. I was just about... Ah, he let out, showing under his tongue, as was the custom after taking meds. I was about to wish my cellie a nice stay in the hole as the nurse whispered something to McGruff. One out of the corner of my eye, I watched closely as the CO opened our cell door. Our cell door. Looked Max up and down, surveyed the floor, scrutinized the sink, and closed the door. I couldn't believe he didn't see the huge sticker on the door he'd just opened. Max turned my way with a shit-eating grin as the nurse and deputy moved into the next house. That was insanely close. You're so lucky. Yep, Max stood tall, hands on hips. Now let's do some drugs. And we did. We snorted crushed up Seroquel. And as promised, were rewarded with 20 minutes of fuzzy goodness, followed by a deep and restful sleep. With practice, Max got some fluid. Max got natural. At the pill dumping motion. With practice, Max got natural at the pill dumping motion and never got caught. Seroquel became one of my favorite ways to kill time. In jail, peaceful sleep and fuzzy head highs were a wonderful thing. It was a sad day when Max left my house for freedom. He didn't want to take a plea deal, but his lawyer scared him. The lawyers all said that proving your innocence isn't worth risking the rest of your life. The lawyers all had a speech about how proving your innocence isn't worth risking the rest of your life. I wouldn't fall for these fear tactics. I, Trevor S. Altman, would clear my name of all wrongdoings. I would take my case to the box. I would kill at trial. I would be free. As Max gathered his things and left our cell for the last time, I offered him a fist bump. I wanted to give him a hug. People watching and dealing with short stay cellmates offered People watching and dealing with short stay cellmates offered me the opportunity to acquire a skill I never thought I'd have. The ability to recognize a person's drug of choice. Let's tie in those two sentences. There we go. That's better. That's cleaner. That looks good, everybody. As a stronger sentence. The majority of murderers, robbers, and assaulters in Max were either meth or heroin users. Only the rapists were mostly clean, or better described, drug-free. Meth users were easy to spot with their cracked and black teeth. Many also had heavy scabs that they couldn't ignore. They just couldn't ignore, never allowing them time to heal. The less hardcore meth heads still gave themselves away. With constant little fidgets, bouncing legs, or simply an inability to ever stand still and focus. Their withdrawals typically entailed sleeping for days. Heroin withdrawals, on the other hand, involved violent shakes and the addict often laying in their own feces and vomit. Nodding off, track marks, scratches, or occasionally feeling for a vein gave these users away. To test my newfound drug user spying skills, I'd watch a new addition to the pod for a while, before calling them over to my door and asking if they were such and such drug user. They were always forthcoming with their addiction, usually in hopes that I could provide them with a source to fulfill their needs. A few times I was able to set them in the right direction. For a finder's fee, I was able to send them in the right direction, for a finder's fee. A few of the druggies were nice guys, but most were like HIV, annoying beggars. Annoying beggars always looking for things with nothing to offer, and a few french fries short of a happy meal. Conversations were either too slow or too fast, and typically ended with them asking for food. But I'd have dealt with 1,000 drug addicts, flea-ridden scum of society, uncultured swine, if it meant I didn't have to endure my next cellmate. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. See right there, I'm getting the reader thinking like, oh my goodness, his next cellmate must be really bad. I wonder what the next cellmate was like. Oh my goodness gracious me. Let's have some fun here. I immediately felt sorry for the skinny, pale little white kid who stood in the door to my cell with tears in his eyes. The fact he was standing where he was meant he was 18, although I'd have placed him closer to 14. Despite the watery eyes, I could tell he was trying to put on a brave face. He gave me a little smile. "Was good, cuz?" Every word was spit out of his mouth, like his tongue refused to utter the final syllable. I quickly moved to slap hands with him. I didn't bump shoulders with him like he wanted. Instead, I hit his hand in a good old white guy high five. "Hey man, there's your bunk." "Thanks, dog." And he went to setting up his bunk. I decided to give him some space and let his eyes dry. I climbed to my bunk and started reading. Feeling bad for the kid, I decided to forego the typical welcome speech, at least for the time. After a while, I got off my bunk to see what was on TV from our little cell window. That's when I saw the poor, pitiful, defenseless kid, hugging his knees to his chest, tears silently running down his cheeks. He looked up at me. "You can say I a pussy or whatever. Whatever. I wasn't built for this place, dog." I wasn't built for this place, dog. Was his ghetto lingo way of talking for real? I hid my desire to correct his destruction of the English language. This was a continued source of squeamish annoyance, making me cringe every time his mouth moved, which would happen every other minute. It's okay, man. I did my best to comfort. First day is always the hardest. I get into a routine and time will go fast. You'll see, it's not so bad. Sniffles were stifled. Appreciate, brah. Okay, I am no one's brah, but I stayed silent and just nodded. I really did feel sorry for the kid. If he'd been sold, sold with someone else, he'd already be made fun of to hell and probably have had his socks stolen. I decided I'd do my best to make this kid's time in max as easy as possible. This would start through distraction. Do you play any cards? He perked up with a sudden smile. Yeah. I'll kick your ass at rummy, dog. No, you won't. And does every homeboy druggie just inherently have rummy as their go-to card game? Any others? I'm a beast at poker. Rummy it is. As we started playing, I took inventory of his many tattoos. His body was covered in ink. Much of it looked like he may have done it himself. Where'd you get that tattoo work done? He looked at his arm. Oh, gotta go. I will be right back, gentlemen. Hello to all of my fantastic, wonderful, and amazing people watching me work. I hope you're working too. I hope you're having a fun time as you go about your day and your job, and you're enjoying yourself. Hopefully that's the case anyway. Let's keep going, shall we? Let's keep writing. Let's keep going with this. By the way, I can't stand how he sounds, but it's authentic, so we'll keep it. But the way that he talks is incredibly annoying, in my opinion. But in Incarcerated, there are actually a lot of hood books, and they call themselves hood books. They're stylized like that demographic, and they talk like this all the time. Like, imagine reading an entire book where the main character talks like this guy right here. It's tough. It was tough for me to get through those books, but when you have such limited reading material, you read it. And some of the books were actually good. I mean, the dialogue was awful, but I mean, you still had the fun of chasing and shooting and drug deals gone wrong and exciting, criminal aspects that are fun to read about. So, let's get going. He looked at his arm. You like that? No, I didn't say that. He removed his shirt, revealing faded ink across his entire pale body. He looked as if he'd wanted a 13, but they drew a 31. He wanted a 13, but they drew a 31. Can you believe I got most of it for free? No dinero needed. I could absolutely believe that. I got a buddy who for $50 will do as much tat work as you can take. I decided even for the cheap, faded 5-minute ink job I was staring at, 50 was too much. He does them out of his house. Super convenient, dog. Super convenient, dog. Convenient, dog. I wondered if it came with the choice of a blunt or a dab. My favorite tattoo he had was a little evergreen tree under his eye, like it was trying to be a teardrop. You see my little tree tear? He pointed at it with an inked finger. I got that because my homie was gunned down. Okay, don't believe that. And you should never tell anybody that again. Yeah, I'm in here for gun running. No, you're not. Why'd they cage you, beast? Trying to be nice and not be a beast. Try not to be a beast. I answered. Lawyer screwed me over. Dirty Jews. Whoa. My scowl was deep. I'm a Jew. He gave a big toothy grin. No disrespect, homie. It's just an expression. 'Cause don't mean none by it. We good, cuz. We good, cuz. I decided to ignore this and continue playing. As his eyes found their way to my bunk, he let out a gasp. Brah, you rollin'! His sudden volume and excitement when he was losing so badly was momentarily perplexing. Then I saw that he was talking about my stash of peanuts and Kit Kats. Peanuts. My stash of peanuts, Kit Kats, and chips. Chips I kept next to my bunk. Dog, you gotta share the wealth. I'll get you square. Feeling sorry for the kid, wanting to be nice, and maybe falling for his weird, smiling, excited fast-moving attitude, I gave him a few of everything. He was happy, munching down while telling me to make sure and write down all he owed me. As we got back to our game, I saw what he needed and began feeding him garbage cards. He gave a smile as he spoke in his always loud, excited voice. "Nigga, fuck you." I looked at him more than a little surprised. "Nigga, fuck you, fuck you." Streamed from his mouth with every card played and loss he took. His smile told me it was all in good fun, but his pale white skin made me uncomfortable with the N-word's use. He seemed too unaware to notice my apprehension. Wanting to return to my book and needing a break from his voice, I initiated our playtime's end by saying, "One more game. I should probably let you know I'm a Crip." "No, you're not. You're white." "You're a Crip? Straight up, cuz." My eyes rolled. "That's cool." "Yeah, so no one better mess with me or my dogs." Oh my god, I shared my snacks with this kid. "Prove it." There was no words to adequately describe the crip-walking, finger-twitching spectacle that followed. Through suppressed laughter, I asked, So you don't have any tattoos, tags to show your affiliation?" "So you don't have any tattoos, or tags to show your affiliation?" "Nah. So you've never been blooded or gone through a real initiation?" He looked embarrassed, like he forgot to wear pants to school. "Nah." This "nah" came much slower than his normal ghetto slang. "And you're white." "Yeah." "You probably shouldn't tell anyone else here you're a Crip. The black guys aren't going to like that." I still felt like looking out for the kid. For some reason, his face reminded me of my little brother. And made me think about how he'd fare in Max. After our card game, I called B and had him slide Crip a few books before I climbed up to crack open my own novel. Crip listed off the titles as he read their covers. "This one sounds boss. Want to read it?" Half distracted with my own reading, I answered, "I'm sure I'll read it." "You proficient?" Pronounced proficient, like an ant who's a pro fisherman. "At reading?" Engaged in my own book, I unthinkingly replied, "I actually made my living reading things to people as an announcer and MC." "Great!" he exclaimed as he half-tossed the book on my chest before getting on his own bunk. I blinked twice. What had just happened? Taken by complete surprise at the absurd request, I actually opened up the book and read the first chapter aloud to him. First chapter aloud to him. Just as I would my own child. As I finished the first chapter, all 18 pages, I closed the book with a loud thump. Crip said, "Great stuff, dog," as he got up without asking, Let's end that sentence right there. Crip said, "Great stuff, dog," as he got up. Without asking, he started dealing out rummy. The next few days were a blur of parenting and having to explain things I shouldn't have had to explain to a full grown man. Why didn't I want to read to him aloud? Why wouldn't I front him a few more juice packets? Why did he have to wash his hands after using the toilet, even when he only went number one? Why couldn't I share my shirt? Why did I always win at rummy? Was I cheating? Why did he have to wipe down the toilet seat after every piss? These all brought about longer explanations and more understanding than they deserved. The questions finally tapered off after, like most parents, I eventually snapped. Why do you always get to sit down at the desk during meals? Crip said out loud. Crip said too loud and too fast. Because I'm on the top bunk, and I'm not going to sit on your bunk to eat my food. How fucking stupid are you? That outburst brought me a day before the questions started up again. There truly are no stupid questions, only stupid people who ask questions. Crip's behavior had me asking a few of my own questions. Why did I have to tell him to shower? Why did he have to fist bump everyone who came to our door, especially when they came to talk to me, not him? Does he think the way he talks is normal? Do Crips think talking like they have polio sounds cool? Did he think people thought he was hard for rolling up only his left pant leg and wearing the laundry sack as a do-rag? How has a black man not kicked his ass for using the N-word? And finally, is that really when you don't have a father to raise you? And finally, is that what happens when you don't have a father to raise you? 3 hours a day away from Crip wasn't enough. But I made the most of it. I talked with Jackson about Crip, or Poser, as we referred to him. As always, the 3 hours ended too soon, and I trudged back to the cell. Crip was already laying in his bunk, having no friends. He didn't do much with his time out. As our house door closed, I smelled something strong, a cheesy, delicious smell. I knew immediately it was one of my bags of cheese ruffles. I silently took inventory of all that had been taken. As it turned out, quite a bit. Crip still owed me a sandwich, so I decided to read quietly and wait till after dinner before confronting the thief. If we were going to the hole, I was going to get paid back first. At dinner, I took his sandwich and dessert. He didn't argue. Ooh, I feel a sneeze coming on, but I'm not going to let it happen. No siree dog, no sneezing for me. Oh my goodness, I almost did though. Whew. Okay, we're good. We are good in the neighborhood. Whew. Alright, let's keep going. At dinner, I took his sandwich and dessert. He didn't argue. I could tell he knew something was up. He even pressed the button and told the COs he wanted to be moved. That we weren't getting along. They said tough. I asked him why he did that. Crip said he could feel the tension and didn't want to fight. I just gave him an before selecting the longest, sharpest pencil as a precaution. Putting a rounded eraser tip on it, I had myself a solid punch spike. I placed it on my bunk within easy reach. Looking down at Crip, he looked very small sitting on his bunk, reading his book, but he had no more sympathy. He'd proven himself to be a little piece of shit. He'd taken advantage of my kind nature, and I'd never be as kind or sympathetic to anyone in jail again. I calmed my voice. We need to talk. Aight, let's talk. I do want that to be new. Aight, let's talk. He didn't look away from his book. I decided to start small. You stole one of my Vaseline. One of my Vaselines. One of my Vaseline packs. One of my... You stole one of my... You stole one of my Vaselines. My lips were chapped. That makes stealing okay? I'll get you back. And how are you going to get me back for all the commissary you stole? I knew you knew, and yet you never fessed up or apologized. Look, I'll put money on your books and you can have my breakfast main. He never looked up from his book. And you can have my breakfast. He never looked up from his book. Why'd you steal from me after I'd given you commissary? I've been nothing but nice to you. I was hungry. Fucking entitled prick. I grabbed the book from out of his hands as I screamed and threw it across the cell. You don't fucking steal from me. Steal from me? I punched him in the solar plexus. He crumpled back into the floor of his bunk, hugged his knees like a little schoolgirl, and wept. You fucking thief. You're a fucking thief. He began to shake and bury his face. I toyed with the idea of yanking him out and beating his ass into the ground. At this moment, after having just written about this piece of shit, I wish I had. Instead, I stole his books and continued to yell. I decided if he tried to come out from under the bunk, I'd punch him back into it. But he just remained in the corner, weeping uncontrollably. Leprechaun came to the window. Everything okay in here? Everything okay here? Got pretty loud. I stepped aside so he could see Crip crying his eyes out. We're fine. Just teaching him not to be a fucking thief. I shouted the word thief in Crip's direction, causing a new onset of crying shakes. Okay, Leprechaun said with a little too much enthusiasm as he ran off to spread the word on what the scary, loud, big 400 was up to. As he ran off to spread the word on what the scary big 400 was up to. And so my legend grew. Tired of Crip's sniffles, I told him to press the fucking button and PC out. He started stepping across the cell before hesitating and sheepishly turning towards me with big calf eyes. Can't I stay? No, you fucking can't stay. At my loud outburst, he ran to the button. Click. It's the button. Click. Hello? I need to go to the hole. Why? My cellie and I are gonna get violent. Hang on. The voice on the intercom never came back. His hands shook so bad I could practically taste the fear in the air. I had him sit quietly back on his bunk. He'd pressed the button 4 more times trying to get to the hole. We finally flagged down a CO. He finally flagged down a CO. Have things actually gone physical? Crip looked at me before slowly shaking his head no. Did you threaten him, Mr. Altman? No, sir. Well, then you two be adults. You two be adults. Classifications will be here to move you Wednesday. The hole must have been really full. As the CO left, I put Crip back. Must have been full. The hole must have been full. As the CO left, I put Crip back on his bunk. Well, I said thoughtfully, if you're staying, then you're going to pay me back any way you can. Crip stayed on his bunk, wide-eyed and shaking. Over the next week, I took his lunch and dinner trays, yelling at him to shut the fuck up and stop moaning about how hungry he was. He was lucky I let him keep breakfast. 2 trays for lunch and dinner was a lot of food. I ended up giving most of it away. Crip just stared and starved to my pleasure. When it was our time out, I told Crip he wasn't allowed in the cell without me. Leprechaun had done a great job of spreading the tale of Big 400, putting the thieving Crip crybaby in his place. Crip spent his time out as a pariah. No one interacted with him at all. Get the fuck away from my door, retarded fucking thief, was a common response to his attempts to communicate. He spent his entire last week in Max sitting in sad silence. Few are ever lower than a jailhouse thief. Crip took a plea deal and left after a week of starving in silence. He promised to put money on my books to pay me back. I, of course, never saw $1. Some people don't look like Some people don't like having the cell to themselves. They get lonely and need someone to talk to or play cards with. I, however, I, however, thought myself I, however, thought my month without a cellmate was bliss. My cell was clean, the only BO was my own. The extra bunk and cubbies were perfect to lay out and organize my writing. With no one to disturb, I got up or went to bed at my leisure, able to talk to anyone at my door when I wanted. I spent a lot of time getting the room hot and sweaty, doing kick-ass karate moves shirtless, making sure my form was Jackie Chan perfect in the mirror. 90% of martial arts is in your kung fu noises and facial expressions. 90% of martial arts is in your kung fu noise and facial expressions. Your kung fu noises and facial expressions. I have a killer furrowed brow. But the best part was being able to make love to myself 6 times a day and let shower time just be for getting clean. Whenever the hormones came over me, I put up the privacy paper in the window, lay atop my bunk, laid excuse me. Whenever the hormones came over me, I put up the privacy paper in the window. Whenever the hormones came over me, I put the privacy paper in the window, laid on my bunk, and let the little blondie in my head dance. Before, after, sometimes even during meals, I'd start caressing the perfectly perky tits in my head. The left one always bounced the right way, while the right tit's nipple just would get hard with a simple thought. I'd put my sudsy solution on them. As they bounced up and down, the white foam would go flying off the sensitive, pointy nipples, with suds slowly sliding down the round tits. I shook my bottle of soapy suds up and down, up and down, up and click. Altman? Nope. They scared her off. What? Pack up your shit. Amazing how they can cuss at detainees, but we can't cuss at them. Cuss back. But we get in trouble if we cuss back. Pick up your shit. Pack up your shit. Amazing how they can cuss at detainees. Amazing how they can cuss at detainees. But we get in trouble if we cuss back. But we'd get in trouble if we cuss back. Amazing how they could cuss at detainees, but we'd get in trouble if we cussed back. Why? Fear had creeped into my voice. You're moving. To where? Pack your shit. To where? Where we put you? I slowly surveyed my room. Pack my shit? I had a lot of shit, so packing it all was impossible. 2 trips, maybe 3 would be needed. 2 trips, maybe 3 would be needed. I didn't want to move. Cell 26 was my home. Plus, I liked everyone in my group. Well, not everyone, but the ratio of likes to loathe entirely was a lot better than in other groups. My heart started racing. What if I was headed to the hole? What if my gambling and mafia-style loan sharking finally caught up to me? Calm down, Trevor. I'd simply have to explain that the little Mexican kid from Puerto Rico had it coming, and he still owed me a damn packet of mayo. As the classification COs came to get me, I was relieved to to find I was remaining in the same group and just moving one cell over. As they opened the door to my new house, I came to face with my new cellie. Everybody's favorite 85-year-old Vietnam veteran, Gramps. Gramps was the closest thing I found to the perfect cellmate. He slept so much it was like having the house to myself. When he was out, he was out. I talked with anyone at the door, made love, even took shits anytime I wanted, without disturbing the sleeping old man. There were downsides. Gramps was a close talker. He never said thank you, and he chewed apples with his mouth open. The last one I dealt with by wearing earplugs during meals and eating my apple at the same time as him. The perks far outweighed the downsides. He showered every day, never smelling. He was disrespectful. He was respectful of my things and kept his own dress-right dress. He scrubbed and mopped the cell every day. I never had to clean. And best of all, he came with some pretty amazing war stories. Shrapnel scarring, a dead eye, and a haunted voice let you know he wasn't full of shit when he talked about getting his men blown up. He only cried once during a story, the manliest tears I'd ever seen. He cried while talking about his machine gunner getting killed. His snoring got bad every so often. I learned to gently bang on the metal bunk until he rolled over. Not a terrible ordeal. His PTSD-induced night terrors were much worse. Screaming and uncontrollable thrashing at the dead of night was hard to ignore. A few times I found him lying on the ground or perched in the corner. I'm thankful I never woke up with a pencil in my neck. He never played cards, but we did have one game where he'd talk about actors or musicians from the 50s and 60s. I wouldn't know them. He'd be shocked and tell me how amazingly talented the famous they were. I, of course, wouldn't remember anything he'd said about them later. I, of course, wouldn't remember anything he'd said about them later. I grew to really enjoy the old man. His steady, quiet breathing was comforting while I sat writing at my desk. It was on one such occasion that I saw some paperwork that Gramps had left out. Detainees often received copies of the evidence against them from their lawyers in a large manila envelope. This was one such envelope. Looking at the peaceful sleeping old man next to me, I decided peeking at his paperwork would be a huge invasion of his privacy. As I opened up the envelope and started to read, I was shocked. It appeared that Gramps unloaded an entire clip into his loving wife. His defense, it was due to PTSD. His defense, it was due to his PTSD. The accounts, doctor's reports, the witnesses, doctor's reports, and pictures were a lot to take in. I looked over at the alleged murderer sleeping to my left. No wonder he always talked about the war. He had to let it out of his head or he might reenact it to a bloody end. The pain, suffering, and depression we touched on became clear. It must be terrible to know you murdered the woman you loved in cold blood. He didn't belong cooped up with me in a cell. He belonged in a treatment facility with real doctors, giving him what he needed to function in society. He needed love, compassion, and medication. He needed me. All right. I call that a win, guys. That is chapter 6 done and done. Bad Selly. Woo! All 32 pages of it. All right, I'm going to send this over to an editor and take a quick little break, and then we will get started on chapter 7, Dangers of Boredom. It's a good chapter. You guys are going to enjoy it. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, we're going to do something a little different now. You guys get to the enjoyment of watching me do something a little different. We are going to craft a thank you letter. Here we go. Okay, let's do this thing, shall we? Let's make a thank you letter, 'cause we love you so much for what you've done. You know what? There's probably a really good way to do this. Start with just the body. You know what? Let's do something fun. Let's Google it. How to write a thank you letter with examples. Let's get an example thank you letter. Why work hard when you can just do it? Okay, this is the format we're going to use. Because why put yourself through hard work when you can do easy work, right? Right. Provided me during my relations. When I began this journey, when I began this trial. Dun 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 dun. I'm happy to report that I'm currently going through the appeal process for the assault on the third, and things are looking good. I'm also grateful for how my life has gone, how my writing career is progressing, and the loved ones. would like to thank you for your invaluable support you provided me during my tribulations. When I began this trial, it was truly breathtaking. Breathtaking, the support I received from complete strangers. When I began this trial, it was truly breathtaking. I would like to thank you for the invaluable support you provided me during my tribulations. When I began this trial, the support I received from complete strangers was truly breathtaking. I'm happy to report that I'm currently going through the appeal process for the assault on the third, and things are looking good. For the assault on the third. I'm happy to report that I'm currently going through the appeal process for the assault on the third. For the assault on the third, and things are looking good. I'm also grateful for how my life has gone, how my writing career is progressing, and the loved ones I'm fortunate to have in my life. Fortunate to have around me. How my writing career is progressing. I'm also grateful for how my life is. I'm also grateful for how my life has returned to normal, how my writing career is progressing, and how the loved ones may you receive untold blessings for your generous acts, and know that they are truly appreciated. Many thanks to you and your family. Trevor Altman. Yay! Okay, now we get to write it. And at the end, I'm going to show you guys how great my my handwriting is, because I personally think that penmanship. There we go. Oh my goodness. My mistake. Mr. Butterfingers over here. That's me. I pulled the cord and the other thing pulled, and super silly. Okay, I need to get a pen so that I can do this properly. There it is. There we go, everybody. Okay, let's write it out now. Nice and beautifully, in the beautiful penmanship that I have. Yes. You guys are going to be so impressed. You're going to be like, ooh, my goodness. His handwriting looks so good. I had no idea. This is why girls love me. They love me for my handwriting. Where's my coffee? There's my coffee. Yum, 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 yum. Delicioso. I'm currently bum 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 ba ba da da da. May you receive untold blessings. For your generous acts. And know that you're truly appreciated. Many thanks to you and your family. Woohoo! Alright guys, take a look at this. See that? See how good that handwriting is? That's beautiful handwriting right there, isn't it? Well, I'm going to be wrapping up for the day. I am going to try and get through the rest of Chapter 7 a little bit, though. Feel free to hang out. Check out my social media, my Patreon. If you'd like to support the cast or the what we do here, that would be great. You can check out Patreon, and supporting is really easy and fun. It's $5 if you would like to read short stories and support the channel here. So, thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, enjoy what you read, love what you write.